Doctors hate this vegetable. That's the headline you clicked on. And I'm a doctor, so let's talk about why that sentence exists and what's actually true buried underneath it. Because here's the thing. I'm not going to tell you one vegetable kills cancer cells in your body. If any doctor tells you that with a straight face, you should be suspicious. But I am going to tell you about a real, peer-reviewed, genuinely exciting area of research, about a compound in a very ordinary vegetable that does something remarkable to colon cancer cells in the lab, and I'm going to tell you exactly what that means for you, what it doesn't mean, and what you should actually do with this information. Stick with me. This one's worth 13 minutes of your time. Section 1. The vegetable in question. The vegetable everyone's talking about is broccoli, and its slightly more potent cousin, broccoli sprouts. I know. Not exactly a thrilling reveal. No one's clicking on "Doctors hate broccoli." But stay with me because the actual story isn't about broccoli itself. It's about a compound broccoli makes called sulforaphane. Sulforaphane belongs to a family of plant compounds called isothiocyanates. They're found across what we call cruciferous vegetables: broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale, cauliflower, arugula, bok choy. When you chew or chop these vegetables, an enzyme reaction happens that converts a precursor compound into sulforaphane. It's literally a chemical reaction that starts in your mouth. And here's why researchers have been obsessed with this molecule for almost 3 decades. Sulforaphane is one of the most studied natural compounds in cancer cell biology. Full stop. Section 2. What the research actually shows. Now, I want to be really careful with you here, because this is exactly where headlines go off the rails. A large body of laboratory research, meaning studies done on cancer cells in petri dishes and some in animal models, has shown that sulforaphane can do several interesting things to colon cancer cells specifically. First, it appears to trigger apoptosis in cancer cells. Apoptosis is the scientific term for programmed cell death. Essentially, a cell's built-in self-destruct sequence that cancer cells often learn to disable. Some studies suggest sulforaphane can help reactivate that sequence in colon cancer cells in lab settings. Second, it seems to inhibit an enzyme called histone deacetylase, or HDAC. Without getting too deep into biochemistry, HDAC inhibition affects how genes get turned on and off inside a cell. Several cancer drugs currently in use actually target the same pathway. Sulforaphane appears to act on it too, at least in cell culture studies. Third, it has consistently shown strong antioxidant and detoxification boosting effects. It activates a pathway in our cells called NRF2, which ramps up the production of protective enzymes that help neutralize harmful molecules before they damage our DNA. That's genuinely fascinating science. I find it fascinating, and I've read more of these papers than I'd like to admit, but, and this is the part the thumbnail leaves out, almost all of this evidence comes from cell culture and animal studies, not large human clinical trials. We don't have a study where researchers gave sulforaphane to colon cancer patients and watched tumors shrink. That trial, frankly, doesn't exist yet in any definitive form. Section 3. What the human data actually says. So let's move from the petri dish to the dinner table. What do we know about actual humans who eat cruciferous vegetables? Multiple large population studies have found an association between higher cruciferous vegetable intake and lower rates of colorectal cancer. I want to underline that word, association, not causation. People who eat more broccoli, cabbage, and similar vegetables tend to have somewhat lower colon cancer risk in these studies. Now, does that mean broccoli is single-handedly preventing cancer? Almost certainly not. And here's why that matters. People who eat a lot of cruciferous vegetables also tend to eat more fiber overall, smoke less, exercise more, and visit doctors more regularly for screening. Untangling sulforaphane's individual contribution from "this person generally has a healthy lifestyle" is incredibly difficult, and honest researchers will tell you that. What I can tell you confidently as a clinician, a diet rich in fiber and cruciferous vegetables is consistently linked to better colon health across multiple independent lines of evidence. Not just one study, not just one mechanism, but converging data from epidemiology, mechanistic cell biology, and basic nutrition science. That convergence is meaningful, even without a single definitive human trial proving sulforaphane alone prevents cancer. That's the honest version of "doctors hate this vegetable." It's not that one food destroys cancer. It's that an entire category of foods most people don't eat enough of is genuinely, measurably linked to better outcomes. And that's a far less exciting headline, but a far more useful truth. Section 4. Why this gets exaggerated. I want to take a second and talk about why headlines like the one on this video exist, because understanding that protects you in the future. Health content performs better online when it sounds urgent, secretive, or oppositional. Doctors hate this. The cure they don't want you to know about. It taps into a real and reasonable distrust some people have toward institutions. But that distrust gets weaponized to sell supplements, sometimes at absurd markups, or worse, to convince people to delay actual medical care in favor of a vegetable smoothie. I need to be direct with you. If you or someone you love is dealing with colon cancer, no amount of broccoli replaces colonoscopy screening, surgery, chemotherapy, or whatever your oncology team recommends. Sulforaphane research is about supporting cellular health and potentially lowering risk over a lifetime. It is not, and has never been, a treatment. The most powerful, well-established tool we have against colon cancer isn't in your produce aisle. It's screening. Colonoscopies, starting at age 45 for most people, earlier if you have family history or symptoms, catch precancerous polyps before they ever become a problem. That single intervention has more solid evidence behind it for reducing colon cancer deaths than any food on earth. So please, let this video make you excited about vegetables, not complacent about screening. Section 5. How to actually use this information. Okay, science lecture aside, let's make this practical, because I know that's what you actually came here for. If you want to maximize sulforaphane intake, a few things matter. Don't overcook it. Boiling broccoli for 10 minutes destroys a large portion of the enzyme needed to convert precursor compounds into active sulforaphane. Light steaming for 3 to 4 minutes preserves far more of it. Broccoli sprouts are remarkably concentrated. Ounce for ounce, 3-day-old broccoli sprouts can contain significantly more sulforaphane precursor than mature broccoli heads. They're easy to grow at home in a jar on your counter, and they're a great addition to salads and sandwiches. Pair it with a little mustard, wasabi, or raw radish. These contain the enzyme myrosinase, which helps activate sulforaphane formation, especially if your broccoli has been frozen or cooked, which can deactivate the plant's own enzyme. Variety matters more than any single vegetable. Rotate through Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale, arugula, and cauliflower. You're not trying to eat broccoli at every meal. You're trying to build a consistent pattern of cruciferous vegetables in your week. And the bigger picture habit that actually moves the needle on colon cancer risk beyond any single vegetable, a high-fiber diet overall, limiting processed and red meat, staying physically active, not smoking, and moderating alcohol. Sulforaphane is one interesting piece in a much larger puzzle, and I'd be doing you a disservice if I let you walk away thinking it's the whole picture. Closing. So, do doctors hate broccoli? Of course not. What we actually feel when we see a headline like that is a kind of tired affection for a true story that keeps getting flattened into a lie. There's real exciting science in this plant. It deserves to be talked about accurately, not as a miracle cure, but as one genuinely evidence-backed piece of a much bigger strategy for protecting your colon health, alongside fiber, movement, and yes, the screening test most people put off far too long. If this kind of let's separate the real science from the clickbait breakdown is useful to you, that's exactly what this channel is for. Subscribe if you want more of it, and drop a comment with the next outrageous health headline you want me to fact check. I read everyone. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next video.